I've been in storms, brother. Not the kind you see in movies. I'm talking about the storms inside your own damn head. The storms that don't need thunder because your thoughts are loud enough. And let me tell you something ruthless and honest. If you don't learn how to stay calm when life rains hell on you, life will break you. It's just that simple. I know because it almost broke me. There was a time when my emotions ran my life. Anger, fear, shame, anxiety. They didn't whisper. They screamed. And every time I let them take the wheel, I drove myself deeper into failure, deeper into regret, deeper into the person I hated looking at in the mirror. And here's the crazy part. On the outside, I looked strong. On the inside, I was drowning in a storm no one could see. That's why this video matters. Because when you learn how to stay calm and stay powerful, you become totally limitless. That's survival. That's evolution. That's the line between the life you want and the life your emotions keep sabotaging. Today, I'm going to show you something most people never learn: how to master the emotional prison inside your mind and turn it into your greatest power. You're going to understand the war within, the cost of staying weak, and the path to emotional dominance that took me from broken to unshakable. And let me be straight with you. This isn't mindset fluff. This isn't think positive. This is discipline. This is neuroscience. This is the real transformation nobody talks about. You stick with me for the next couple of minutes, and I promise you will not walk away the same person. Let's get into it. People think the hardest battles are fought out there in the gym, in the office, against the world. No way. The hardest battles are fought in the silence of your own damn mind. Let me take you back. There was a moment in my life where every day felt like I was waking up behind enemy lines, and the enemy wasn't the world, it was me. My emotions were like wild dogs. One minute I was angry, next minute I was anxious, then guilt, then shame. And every one of those emotions had their hands on my throat, dragging me in 100 different directions. You ever felt that? That emotional chaos where one small thing goes wrong and suddenly you're spiraling? You're arguing with people who ain't even in the room. You're fighting battles that ain't even real. You're losing sleep over scenarios you made up in your head. That was my life. And here's the truth I had to face. You can't build a strong life with a weak emotional foundation. I didn't understand that. I thought toughness was about muscles, mileage, and pain tolerance. But toughness? Real toughness? That's emotional mastery. That's being able to stand in the middle of a mental hurricane and not flinch. See, most people think emotions just happen to them. But I learned the hard way, your emotions don't show up to guide you. They show up to test you. The fear, it wants to see if you'll run. The anger, it wants to see if you'll explode. The anxiety, it wants to see if you'll fold and hide. The insecurity, it wants to see if you'll sabotage yourself before life gets the chance. And every time I failed that test, I paid for it. I lost opportunities. I lost respect. I lost myself. One moment in particular changed everything. I was at one of the lowest points of my life, overweight, broke, depressed, and emotionally unstable. I remember staring in the mirror, chest tight, mind spinning, and this voice in my head said, if you don't take control of your emotions today, they will control you for the rest of your life. That's when it hit me. The war wasn't outside, it was within. And if I didn't conquer that war, I would lose every other battle before it even began. You want success, you want discipline, you want peace, then understand this right now. The enemy lives in your mind. The battlefield is your emotions, and your weapon is control. If you can't stay calm when life throws chaos at you, you will never discover the power you were built for. It's like a man standing in the rain, calm, still, and unmoved. It's not because he likes the storm, it's because he trained himself to be stronger than anything falling on him. This war within, it's the foundation. Because once you see the enemy clearly, you can finally begin the fight. And now that you understand the inner battlefield, let me show you something even more brutal: the cost of losing control. Let me be brutally honest with you. Not mastering your emotions doesn't just make life hard. It destroys you silently, piece by piece, day by day, decision by decision. And the worst part, you don't even notice the destruction until it's too damn late. I've lived it, I've watched it, and I felt it carve scars into my life. When I was younger, I thought losing control was just part of being human, a bad day, a slip, a moment of weakness. But I didn't realize that every emotional reaction has a price, and the bill always comes due. Let me give you a story. Years ago, before I had any discipline, before I became the person you know now, I had dreams, big ones, but I also had a temper. I had fear, I had insecurity, and all those emotions were like thieves, living rent-free inside me. I remember being at a job I hated. Every day I walked in angry. Every day I walked out defeated. One day, my supervisor said something small, something harmless, but because I had no emotional control, I exploded. I snapped. I reacted like a damn child, trapped in a grown man's body. You know what that got me? Nothing but regret, nothing but setbacks, nothing but the realization that emotional weakness was running my life. That one outburst cost me respect. It cost me opportunities, and more importantly, it exposed a truth I had been avoiding. Emotionally weak people can't be trusted by life, not with success, not with relationships, not with leadership, not with themselves. Because when you're always triggered, always reacting, always emotional, you're unpredictable. And unpredictable people sabotage their own future. Let me break it down simply. You lose your temper, you lose respect, you react emotionally, you lose clarity, you panic, you lose opportunity, you get jealous, you lose relationships, you give in to fear, you lose your destiny. That's the tax, that's the price, that's the invoice. Emotional weakness sends out every time you break under pressure. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they lack emotional control. They can run 10 miles. Work 10 hours, but they can't stay calm for 10 seconds when life hits them. And that's why they remain stuck, because life doesn't reward the emotional. Life rewards the disciplined. Life rewards the calm. Life rewards the person who can breathe, think, and act when everyone else is drowning in their own reactions. You ever destroyed something you loved because you couldn't control your emotions? A relationship, a friendship, a job, a moment that could have changed everything? That's the cost. Not money, not time, your life. The emotional storm inside you, if you don't learn to tame it, will burn down every room you walk into. But here's the good news. You can rebuild. You can reclaim control. You can flip the script on your own story. And it starts by understanding how your mind actually works. Because once you know the science, you can rewire the whole system. Now let me show you why emotional mastery isn't just motivational talk, it's literally built into your brain. People love to talk about emotions like they're some mystical fog floating around us. Just feel your feelings, just be positive, just breathe. Nah, your emotions aren't magic, they're mechanics, they're wiring, they're systems inside your brain that either work for you or own you. And once I understood the science behind my own mind, once I realized what was happening upstairs, everything changed. Not because I became smarter, but because I finally knew what the hell I was fighting. Let me break this down. Simple, clean, no fluff. You've got two major forces in your brain battling for control. One, the limbic system, the emotional animal. This is the part of your brain that's all instinct, all reaction, all fear, all anger, all impulse. This is the part that says run, fight, explode, shut down, quit, hide, overthink. It's fast, it's loud, and it does not care about your future. When I was younger, this part of my brain drove everything. I wasn't living, I was reacting like an animal backed into a corner. Two, the prefrontal cortex, the commander. This is the part of your brain responsible for reason, strategy, discipline, long-term thinking, emotional regulation, clarity under pressure. This is where calm comes from. This is where decisions come from. This is where you actually build a future. But here's the truth. Most people never learn you cannot activate the commander while you're drowning in emotional chaos. Your brain literally shuts it off. When you're angry, anxious, panicked, ashamed, jealous, overwhelmed, your mind goes into survival mode. The emotional animal takes the wheel, and it will crash the damn car. I learned this during my darkest years. Every time I let my emotions dictate my decisions, I was literally operating with the weakest part of my brain, the most primitive part, the part built for survival, not success. And I kept wondering why my life felt like a cycle, why I could never break through, why I kept sabotaging myself. It wasn't because I was stupid, it wasn't because I was cursed, it wasn't because life hated me, it was because I was living by emotional instinct instead of emotional intelligence. And here's the beautiful part. Once you understand the mechanics, you realize something powerful. Emotional control is a skill, a trainable skill, a rewiring. You can literally practice turning on the commander. You can build emotional discipline like a muscle. You start recognizing your triggers. You start slowing down your reactions. You start breathing before you speak. You start observing instead of obeying. You start thinking instead of reacting. And the moment you create that tiny gap, that split-second pause before the emotional animal erupts, you activate a new part of yourself, the part that stays calm in the storm, the part that makes the right decisions, the part that leads instead of follows, the part that transforms pain into precision. That's what self-mastery really is. Not dead emotions, not pretending you don't feel things, not acting like a robot. Self-mastery is knowing exactly what you feel and choosing the response that builds your life instead of breaking it. Once I understood the science, I realized I wasn't fighting my emotions, I was training my brain. And when you understand that, you stop being a victim of your feelings. You stop being controlled by old wiring. You stop being a prisoner of your past. You become the architect, the builder, the operator, the commander of your own internal world. And once you reach that level of control, you unlock something most people never experience: power through awareness. That's where we go next. Now that you know the science, let me show you the next evolution. Awareness is power. The difference between reacting and rising. There was a point in my life where I thought I was self-aware. I knew when I was angry. I knew when I was sad. I knew when life was kicking my ass. But let me tell you something. I learned the hard way. Knowing you're emotional is not the same as understanding your emotions. Awareness isn't you noticing you're pissed off. Awareness is knowing why. Awareness is knowing what triggered it. Awareness is seeing the storm before it forms, instead of waking up in the middle of it, wondering how you got there. And the moment I learned that, the moment I started paying attention, instead of just reacting, everything in my life shifted. Let me share something personal. Back in the day, I used to get angry fast, quick, explosive. Didn't matter if it was my fault or not. I reacted like the world was attacking me. But one night, after snapping at someone I cared about, I sat alone and asked myself the question I had been running from: why do you react like this? And that question broke me open, because the truth wasn't pretty, it wasn't clean, it wasn't comfortable. I wasn't angry at the world, I was angry at myself. I wasn't explosive because of them, I was explosive because of the unhealed battles inside me. Stress, insecurity, shame, past failures, all of it spilled out every time life poked the wrong bruise. That's when I realized you can't master your emotions until you face the truth behind them. You have to become a witness to your own mind. You have to learn to observe what's happening inside you without letting it drag you into the fire. Awareness is when you can feel the anger rising, but instead of blindly reacting, you say, I see you, but you don't control me. Awareness is when anxiety tries to outrun your thoughts and you breathe deep, slow it down, and shift the energy instead of letting it hijack your whole day. Awareness is when insecurity whispers lies, and instead of believing them, you challenge them, you confront them, you replace them with truth. Let me tell you what awareness did for me. It gave me distance, and distance gives you control. See, when you're lost inside your emotions, you don't have choices, you only have reactions. But when you step back even 1 inch, you create space for discipline to step in. And that space, that's everything. That's the difference between screaming or staying silent, quitting or continuing, burning bridges or building them, acting like a child or leading like a man. The moment I became aware of my emotions, I realized something powerful. You don't need to suppress your emotions. You need to supervise them. Like a commander watching his soldiers, you don't ignore them. You don't fear them. You don't let them run wild. You simply manage them, direct them, turn them into fuel instead of fire. Awareness taught me how to pause before reacting. It taught me how to breathe before exploding. It taught me how to recognize the difference between what I feel and who I am. And listen closely, when you master awareness, you master your life because you stop moving blindly. You stop getting ambushed by your own mind. You stop letting emotional storms dictate the outcome of your day. You start choosing your responses. And choice, real choice, is freedom. This is where emotional mastery becomes a superpower, because once you can observe your emotions without letting them drag you, you gain something most people never experience, the ability to transform your emotions into power. And that right there is where we're headed next. Now that you've built awareness, it's time for the transformation, the one most people never learn: emotional transmutation. Turning pain into power, turning fear into focus, and turning chaos into clarity. Awareness gives you the map, but transmutation, that's the engine. That's the part most people never reach because they're too scared to dig that deep. See, people think emotional mastery means staying calm all the time. Nah, emotional mastery means taking the ugliest parts of yourself, the fear, the anger, the insecurity, and turning them into something that builds you instead of destroys you. Let me tell you something about pain. Pain is loud, pain is rude, pain interrupts your life and demands attention. But pain also carries the raw energy you need to transform if you know how to use it. When I was at my lowest, I didn't magically find discipline. I didn't suddenly wake up motivated. I didn't become mentally tough overnight. You know what I did? I took every emotion that tried to break me and I converted it into fuel. Let me break it down clean. Anger? Focus. When I got angry, instead of exploding outward, I turned it inward. I used it as clarity, as fire to lock in and get to work. Anger became the force that sharpened my attention. Fear used to paralyze me. Now, fear tells me exactly what areas I need to improve. Fear became a compass. It stopped being a cage and became a signal. The voice that said, "You're not enough," I stopped arguing with it. I answered it with action. Every rep, every mile, every day of work. Insecurity became discipline because I refused to live that same story again. Pain became the reason I got up in the morning, the reason I kept pushing, the reason I stopped accepting average. Pain forced me to grow because staying the same hurt more than evolving. That's emotional transmutation. You're not running from your feelings, you're them. Let me tell you how this looks in real life. You feel anxious? Good. Channel that energy into organization, preparation, and structure. You feel frustrated? Perfect. Channel that fire into grinding harder, working smarter, thinking clearer. You feel heartbroken or rejected? Use that emptiness to rebuild your identity from scratch. Stronger, cleaner, sharper, because here's the truth. Your emotions are not obstacles. They are power sources, if you know how to convert them. But here's the catch. You can't convert what you refuse to confront. And most people, they spend their whole lives running from hard conversations, running from their triggers, running from their past, running from the truth. But every emotion you run from grows stronger. Every emotion you confront grows weaker and more useful. You want to know why I became unstoppable? It wasn't because I got rid of my emotions. It was because I trained them like soldiers. I turned my internal chaos into my internal army. When life hit me with storms, I didn't fold, I didn't panic, I didn't drown. I learned to stand still in the rain, calm, unmoved, powerful, just like a warrior. Not because I enjoyed suffering, but because I built a mind that refused to be controlled by emotion. And once you master transmutation, you reach the final stage, the one most people never touch. Peace, stillness, internal stability that nothing can break. That's what we're diving into next. Now that you know how to turn your emotions into your greatest weapon, it's time for the final stage, peace as power, the state that makes you unshakable. People think peace is soft. People think calm means weak. People look at a quiet man and assume he's passive, scared, or disconnected. Let me tell you something nobody told me when I was breaking myself into a better man. Peace is the highest form of power. Calm is the most dangerous weapon. Stillness is the ultimate dominance. You ever see a man who can stay calm under pressure? A man who doesn't flinch when life hits him? A man who doesn't get rattled, doesn't get reactive, doesn't break? That man is unstoppable. because nothing controls him, nothing manipulates him, nothing pulls him off his mission. When I finally mastered my emotions, when I learned to stand in the storm without letting the storm inside me, I unlocked a level of strength I didn't know existed. And this wasn't some meditation retreat, incense burning, go to your happy place type peace. No, this was earned peace, peace forged in chaos, peace built through discipline, peace created by facing myself and refusing to run ever again. I started waking up every day with clarity, with direction, with intention, because I wasn't being tossed around by emotional storms anymore. I wasn't living at the mercy of triggers. I wasn't losing hours, days, weeks, drowning in anger, anxiety, regret. I became calm, but not the weak kind of calm, the kind of calm you see in warriors, the calm that comes from knowing you've done the work, the calm that comes from knowing you can handle anything, the calm that comes from being in control of the only war that truly matters, the war within. And here's the irony. When you master your emotions, you don't become less emotional. You become more intentional. You don't stop feeling, you stop falling. You don't stop thinking, you stop overthinking. You don't stop caring, you stop being controlled. This is the peace that builds confidence. This is the peace that builds discipline. This is the peace that builds a life worth living. And let me tell you, when you get to this level, the world starts reacting to you, not the other way around. People respect you, people trust you, people feel your presence when you walk in the room, not because you're loud, but because you're centered, grounded, solid, unshakable. This chapter isn't the end of the journey. This is the beginning of a new identity, because once you master your emotions, you master your life. Listen, you just walked through the real war, the emotional prison, the cost of losing control, the science that explains why you felt stuck, the awareness that gave you clarity, the transformation that turned pain into fuel, and the peace that makes you unstoppable. That's not entertainment. That's a blueprint, a roadmap, a new operating system for your mind. Now, here's the truth. This journey doesn't end with this video. This is the first step in building a stronger, calmer, more disciplined version of yourself, the version that no emotion can break. So here's what I need you to do right now, not later, not tomorrow, not when you feel motivated. Right now, hit that subscribe button, not because I want a number, not because it makes the channel look good, but because if you want to keep leveling up, if you want more tools to master your mind, if you want more hard truths, raw discipline, and real strategies, you need to lock in. You subscribe because it keeps you connected to the mission. It keeps you accountable. It keeps you growing. And it tells life, I'm not playing small anymore. And listen, there's something you cannot miss. The next video you watch needs to be discover the power of morning routines. Why? Because if mastering your emotions builds the internal strength, your morning routine builds the external structure that holds your entire life together. In that video, you're going to learn the unshakable principles of self-improvement, the raw energy of Goggins-style motivation, and the deep reflection that makes you unstoppable before the day even begins. That's the next step. That's the continuation of this journey. That's where your transformation compounds. Before you go, I want you to leave a comment. Tell me one emotion you're taking control of starting today. Your voice matters here. This isn't just a channel, it's a community of people who refuse to stay weak, who refuse to be controlled, who refuse to go another year living under their own emotional storms. And I want you in that community because your presence here means something. Your growth matters. Your story isn't done. So subscribe, join the mission, watch the next video, and remember this as you walk into the rest of your life. You don't rise by accident. You rise by discipline. You rise by clarity. You rise by staying calm, and you rise by staying powerful. This is your moment. Don't waste it. Let's get after it.